So now, C-Rob, I'll start with you. It's we're heading into the third offseason here. So he's got 3 years under his belt by the CBA. This is the offseason in which the Texans can offer him the big money extension and lock in their franchise guy. After the third year, they did Herbert, they did Burrow, you do Kyler Murray. This is when you do your quarterback. Do the Texans give C.J. Stroud the long-term deal after the guy you saw this year?
No. Not just this year, last year. He's been chasing, that rookie season now for a couple of years and not been the same player. And, I think it's fair to say the roster obviously has had a lot of deterioration since 2023. When you go back and you look at that 2023 team, had Tank Dell on it, who was a guy who was almost uncoverable at times, who was one of C.J. Stroud's favorite players. The talent level on the offensive line was completely different. I mean, Laramie Tunsil was anchoring that line. He was still protected. I think it was interesting, though, when you look at that you look at that 2023 season, he did have a blip. And obviously I live here in Houston, and I remember it. They played the Jets late in that season. It was like a December game. Horrible game. And they threw mixed coverages at him. They got him. I mean, he was pressured, had to move around. He got hit. And it was like, wow, he looks terrible when he's seeing a lot of these different mixed defensive looks and he's facing pressure. He just had, when, at the time, you're like, it's just an off game. It's just how it is. He's a rookie season, stellar year, off game. And then 2024, when the offensive line completely fell apart, the offensive creativity struggled. He looked a lot like that player at times who suffered that ugly Jets loss his rookie season. And now I think you've now got back-to-back years of data where if you throw different looks at C.J. Stroud, you make him move and he gets hit and he's uncomfortable, he is not the accurate passer he is if he has an ability to plant his feet in the pocket and play exclusively protected from protection. And now you're the Texans. There's no way you can do an extension after that third year. You have to pick up his, I personally think, this is my opinion, I think you have to pick up that fifth year option, which is going to be costly, but you take him through the next 2 years, because the last thing you can afford is to make the Tua mistake. You can't go, well, what other options do we have? Or in my mind, let's say he plays well in 2026. I don't think you extend him, because that was the mistake Miami made. Tua had one good year and they said, okay, this is the guy, that's the guy, and we have no other options here. So let's go ahead and do this deal and we'll ride, into the horizon with this guy. I think CJ Stroud has showed you enough to be alarmed with the last 2 seasons to take it through the next 2 seasons before you determine whether he's worth that extension.
I just don't know what to make of this situation, because CJ Stroud was so good as a rookie, like unbelievably good. I remember that Jets game too, but you kind of just, like you said, said, okay, he had a bad game against a Robert Saleh defense. Like, that's going to happen sometimes. And he just has not recaptured that at all. And I just think that what NFL teams do is they just pay their quarterbacks and hope, because you don't got enough time to really see it through to the next quarterback, right? So I view this as the exact same situation, a similar situation to what the Jaguars were in with Trevor Lawrence, where we hadn't seen it from Trevor Lawrence, but the Jaguars were like, we got to extend him. What were we going to do? Let Trevor Lawrence go? Like, we got to extend him and hope that it was the infrastructure around him and not getting him enough coaching and all this stuff. And to the Jaguars' credit, Trevor Lawrence kind of came alive in the second half of this year. And maybe they did make the right decision, but I get what you're saying, Charles. I do. Where, I mean, it's,
you're saying you'd extend him? You would extend him?
I'm saying they will. I don't know. I think they will. I don't know what I would do. I really don't. I think they will, because that's what NFL teams do. Teams that are in the middle of the road at quarterback just pay the guy and hope. Because again, I think what are you going to do?
I really do think they have to wait. I think they have to do the 5th year option, which is going to be $26 million,
you might wait a year,
roughly.
But I think eventually he's going to get it.
You pick up the 5th year option,
$50 million year.
But then you're right, because the Dolphins waited. And like I'll go back a couple of years ago when we're all rolling into the combine on a Monday morning in Indianapolis a few years ago, when Kyler Murray had just wrapped up his 3rd season. And his agent, Eric Burkhardt, hit send on a ransom note on Twitter. We demand our extension now, or else. We're like, all right, pump your brakes. Like, pump your brakes. There's no need, no need to rush. I think there's no need to rush here. There is zero need to rush. Nothing says you have to do it after year 3. We've seen teams and players wait for the extension. Jamar Chase Justin Jefferson, for example, the wide receiver position. They waited for their extension. There's no reason for C.J. Stroud. You cannot wait because you're watching that game. And I remember talking to C.J. We talked to him before the opener back in September or in late August. And, you know, there was part of me, and I talked about it with Madison, our producer, after the interview, that was like, wow, I wish this was a 45-minute off-season, like, sit-down where we could have taken a deeper dive, because you could see that the criticism from his sophomore season and his own self-doubt, because he wanted to play better, was eating at him, and that he had a lot to prove this year. And it was going to be an uphill battle early on. Joe Mixon was injured. Nick Caley was the new OC. And, it's not just what Bobby Slowick was doing. It's not the Shanahan system. It was more the McDaniels system, which, by the way, might, connect the dots as to the game plan yesterday for the Patriots. They had institutional knowledge of what Nick Caley was trying to do. That's where he cut his teeth. But that CJ felt the burden of this season on him. And I think the second half of the year, the offensive line was healthy. They were running the ball effectively with Woody Marks. The rookie wide receivers had come on a little bit, and CJ is playing confidently. And you're like, all right, there it is. But then it fell off the cliff, and it fell off the cliff so badly. Troy Aikman had to say something at the end of the game, and as soon as he started kind of going there, I raised my hand, and I was like, yep, okay, here it is. I'm waiting for him to say it, because it's the only lens through which I was watching that game yesterday, C-Rob. It's, oh boy, this is going to be a bad offseason in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult conversation to have, and you're going to have to. I don't know how you don't look at the offense and try to figure out how to once again retool it. The backfield needs more work. I mean, look, Woody Marks is, he's fine. They need more in the backfield. The offensive line still needs work. Nico Collins goes down, and Dalton Schultz is that's your go-to guy. I mean, I realize there's been investment. There's been investment. I think looking back on it, had you kept Stephon Diggs, he would have been a piece that was useful this year. I didn't know Stephon Diggs was going to have the kind of season he was going to have in New England. And I don't think that the Houston Texans really thought he still had this left in him either. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a difficult offseason because you're going to have the quarterback contract hanging over your head. And Andrew, you put words to it. He's a good kid. He cares. He cares about football. And I think it does. It bothers him when he feels like he lets down not only his teammates, but also DeMeco Ryans. I think it really bothers him that he's not been able to capture a level of consistency here. And I'll say this, it's not over, right? It's not over for the kid. They can go back to the drawing table. He could be fine next year, right? I just think it's holding off you can't have an agent come in and say, okay, let's talk about $50 to $60 million a year in extension. I mean, and I think Cal McNair loves him. I think Cal McNair absolutely loves him. And Frank, if they do the deal, it's because it's Cal McNair sitting there going, I want to do the deal with the kid. I believe in the kid. I want to do the deal. We'll be fine. We'll figure it out around him. I think that would be ownership driven. I just don't think I keep thinking about the Tua deal, and I'm like, you can't strap yourself to this because if it's the wrong decision, it's absolutely going to cripple you as a franchise. Just wait a year, and if it costs more, fine. It'll cost more.
Yeah, I can see that. And I should have clarified that I don't think it's going to happen this offseason, but I do think at the end of the day, at some point, we're going to be sitting here on Inside Coverage talking about C.J. Stroud's 5-year, $260 million contract. Like, it's going to happen eventually, unless it just completely falls apart next year, which I doubt. He'll probably just be the same quarterback he's been the last 2 years, and then they're kind of stuck. And what's going to make the offseason even longer is that Houston team is going to turn on that AFC Championship game on Sunday and say, all we had to do was beat Jarrett Stidham to go to a Super Bowl.
Points.
If we would have got decent quarterback play in the playoffs, we'd be playing Jarrett Stidham with the best defense in football, maybe the best defense since like the 2015 Broncos, with a Super Bowl trip on the line. And we could have won the Super Bowl too. Like, that's what's going to make it tough. When they have that realization that the Super Bowl is right there for them. And yes, the quarterback let them down. Like that did happen.
As a Browns fan as well, watching the Texans, it's uncomfortable because it's the same defense. Schwartz, Matt Burke, obviously. A lot of similar pieces here. 2 years ago when the Browns did get in, they went down to Houston, ran into the buzzsaw. They never thought they were going to lose that game, and they did, and they lost badly. They lost by 31 points when all was said and done, and CJ was a rookie. He played amazingly well. Obviously, there's the Deshaun trade and everything the Texans have done with it, but just on paper, the Browns thought, I mean, they did. They have a top 5 defense. Just score 18 points a game. Just get 19. Just be able to get in the end zone a couple of times. This is an awful division. You can win. Much different here. The Texans made the playoffs. They're a better team. They're a better defense. But there are threads here. Like, just score a couple of points. We're okay. Don't turn the ball over. Play clean, sound, fundamental football. Give it back to us. We'll do the rest. We'll be okay. It didn't happen. D'Amico Ryans is there for the future. They have a quarterback decision to make now with CJ Stroud.